Captain Peter Cutsey, South Korea. This is my briefing room. We're now ready to do the before taxi procedure. All the equipment is clear and we'll get started. Let's just have a quick look in the FCOM 1 regarding the before taxi procedure. There are 17 items. I will have a PowerPoint supporting this very shortly in Google Drive. Anyhow, start the before taxi after the engines are stable at idle, and they are. Generator switches 1 and 2 on, probe heats on, wing anti-ice as needed, not today, engine anti-ice as needed, not today, and pack switches, auto, isolation switch, auto, isolation valve, I should say. EPU bleed, off, EPU switch, off, engine start switches, continuous, engine start levers, idle dedent, then the captain will call for the flaps, in today's case flaps 5. If you read that off the CDU, he's on the takeoff page. First officer will place the flaps at 5, and both captain and first officer will wait for the flaps to indicate 5, and the green light on. Then the captain will check the flight controls, and we'll talk about that later. And then the first officer will make sure that the transponder is out on or transponder, depending on the airplane. And the last item is recall. You check it, and both pilots check all 12 lights are illuminated, and then release, and no lights are in view. So we'll just set this for the next briefing, which will be the before takeoff procedure. In any case, let's get back to where we're at, and let's go ahead and the equipment being clear is the first officer's cue, or trigger I like to call it, to go ahead and get started with the before taxi procedure. And the before taxi procedure, as we mentioned before, starts with the electrical control panel. Generator control switches, left to right, on, and then right up to the probe heaters. On, wing anti-ice, not required, off, engine anti-ice, not required, off, packs, I should say packs, auto, and isolation valve, auto, APU bleed, off, APU, off, and engine start switches as required, continuous, and then down to the flaps. Captain would now command the first officer to select flap 5. The captain would be getting this off of the CPU because we confirmed all of that before. So now the first officer will select flap 5. And both the captain and the first officer will wait. There is no rush to move on, and you shouldn't move on until you have confirmed that the flaps are indeed at flaps 5 and the leading edge flaps extend green light is illuminated. So here we are, flaps are 5 and illuminated. Now the captain will do the flight control check. I can't show that to you here, but basically the flight control check, by the way, the engine start levers should be in the idle dedent. After the engine start switches were moved to continuous, let's go down and make sure that they are. The captain would ensure that the engine start levers were into the idle dedent and make sure that they are moved into the idle dedent, and they are in fact. And then after that item, then the captain would command the first officer to select the flaps, and after both pilots check the flaps and flap are extended to 5 and the green light is on, then the captain would check the flight controls. Now, the flight control check, if you do have the flight control position indicator installed on your airplane, the first officer would select it via systems, and we would see it on the lower DU. So let's just see if we have it in this particular software. We'll have a blue here and see. Yes, we do. So the captain and the first officer would be monitoring the lower DU as the captain moves the control. The normal way to move the controls is aileron left, full left, and then release. And don't allow it to bang back. So follow it through, but don't move it back to neutral. Then aileron right, full throw, and then allow it to come back to neutral. Elevators up, full movement, and allow it to come back to neutral. Elevators down, full movement, and allow it to come back to neutral. Rudder pedals, the captain will grab or grasp the tiller and hold it, and then rudder pedal full left, and then allow it to come back to neutral. And rudder pedal full right, and allow it to come back to neutral. The first officer does not touch the flight controls during this check. This is a captain check. The first officer will observe on the lower DU, and when the flight control check is complete, he will blank the readings, getting ready for takeoff. That's the flight control check. Then after the flight control check is finished, the next item is to select the transponder, which it is, to L on. We've selected that, and now the final part of the check, of the before taxi check, is the first officer will select the recall, and both pilots will ensure that they observe all the lights. So we'll do it on the first officer side here. Okay, it looks like the software will only allow us to do it on the captain's side, but when it is done, the first officer will be making that selection, of course, and it has to be working on his side. He should have 6 lights, and the captain has 6 lights. And then both pilots will make sure that they see 12 lights total, and the first officer will release. Now we have flight control. Probably the yaw damper on the, and that's good. Probably the yaw damper, because on the power transition, sometimes the yaw damper will trigger off. Well, let's just go up and have a look and make sure that the yaw damper is on. More than likely, that's the we know that. All right, so we've got it, and the light is out. Now we'll go back, and we find that all the lights are out. So let's do that check again. 12 lights, and then release, all lights out. So the system works. That's exactly what would happen in the airplane. And now, that was the last item. So now the captain calls for the before taxi checklist. And we'll do it in accordance to the way you're told to do it from your SOPs. This completes the before taxi procedure and checklist. See you in the next video, which will be before takeoff procedure and the before takeoff check. So look for me in the next video. Thanks for watching.